Hey, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back into the SFS channel. My name is Gavin, and today we've got one of the last mock draft episodes of the 2021 fantasy football season. I'll have either one or two more of these at most, and then it's full steam ahead, getting us prepared for weekly matchups and all that good stuff. So by all means, if you've got questions already for me, drop those down in the comment section below. Let me know how I can help you out this week, this season, whatever it is. I'm here to be a very interactive asset with each and every single one of you to hopefully win that league championship and reach those goals this year. So we've got a 10-team full PPR mock draft lined up for today's video. Again, I'll have probably one more subscriber mock and then one more offline mock draft this offseason, and then we're getting straight into the regular season. So thank you all so much for watching. Drop down, give today's video a like, and subscribe if you're new around here before we get started. But let's hit that intro and get straight into today's mock draft. All right, we're gonna do our best to get through today's video in an efficient manner. I am actually gonna edit the draft settings here very quickly because I just realized that my timer was down a little bit and I don't wanna be too rushed. I wanna get you all information and analysis on each of my picks, but I also don't want today's episode to take forever, especially since it's just me going up against that CPU. So here we go, drafting from the 110 spot on the bend here. This is full PPR, so we do have, 8 running backs straight off the board. I can't say that's too unheard of to happen in drafts, but at the end of the day, it's also not the most common thing either. I would have loved to got Travis Kelce at that, or would have loved to have gotten Travis Kelce at that 1-9 spot. But now it looks like I might be going Aaron Jones and Austin Eckler here. Both very quality PPR plays. I would love to snatch up Antonio Gibson or Najee Harris would be a fantastic pick as well, but that's ultimately not what ended up happening because I do have better value on the table. I'm not going to worry too much about taking a wide receiver here because that running back group will fall off very quickly, and I still feel confident in the players I would be able to take in that late third, early fourth round, especially being this is a 10-team league. There should be at least a Terry McLaurin, a CeeDee Lamb, Allen Robinson. Maybe A-Rob's gone, but there will be other receivers I like. Even Robert Woods I would feel comfortable with as a wide receiver one in a full PPR league just because of how much depth I can scoop up late on the board here. But we are going to make sure we do address that running back position in a healthy manner. Aaron Jones is the first pick off the board here and an easy one for me. He's my highest ranked running back of the crop left, and he's just used in all areas of the field in that Green Bay offense. I am a little bit lower on his receiving involvement right now than I was a couple weeks ago because I attended a Packers practice. You can see, obviously, if you're new around here, I've got Randall Cobb in the background. I am a Green Bay Packer fan, but I stayed unbiased. I'm actually rather harsh on the Packers in terms of how I assess their fantasy situations, and that's what I'm about to do here. So I'm as objective as possible, and I truly don't think it has any impact on the way I see the fantasy world. But A.J. Dillon catches passes very smoothly, and I expected him to actually have brick hands and just basically be a dud in the receiving game, but he has taken a lot of strides forward this year, which makes me feel that maybe this is more similar to a Jamal Williams situation last year than it is to being just a goal line back who snatches away touchdowns. So even if that worst case scenario plays out in terms of Aaron Jones, he was the RB6 last season, so having that same situation is still a great position to put yourself in a fantasy league. He doesn't have David Bakhtiari guaranteed for week 1 right now. We'll see what that materializes into. That's his star left tackle, which is obviously a big piece of that offensive line. But I still feel very confident. He's a very efficient rusher, has big play explosive ability to get out in space and make things happen. He can catch the football at a very good level and be a very productive player in that area of the field. So a lot of stuff to like there. And then I think we'll go Austin Eckler here, so we will make the hard choice, and I'm not about to pick, as I say, we stay objective. I'm not about to pick two Packers in the rounds 1 and 2, although it is a strategy you could go about. I mean, if you were going to pick Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I couldn't fault you. If you were going to take, heck, even, the Bills don't really have another elite offensive threat outside of Josh Allen, but you could always make the argument to stack your star wide receiver with that quarterback. Nonetheless, that's besides the point. Austin Eckler was my second pick there. Give me the guy who I literally call Mini McCaffrey in every video I talk about him. He's a PPR monster. 6.5 targets per game with the Chargers in his 10 starts last year. He was injured. He had a hamstring strain that kept him out of some games, but still a very effective producer. The one area of the field that he is a little bit lacking in, we could see some improvement. He has shown us he can do it in the past, though, and that's the touchdown department. He's just not a goal line back. He is very much, I don't want to call him a scat back because I think that would be a rather limiting to what he actually is as a player. But he is more suited to play a receiving role than he is to be a 20 carry player. He's going to get you maybe 12, 14 touches on the ground and then pick up the rest of his work through the air while being very efficient in getting you incredibly valuable reps in that receiving game after the catch. That's what we love to see there. So, unfortunately, Scary Terry goes at that 3-9 spot, which leaves us a little bit with something to be desired there. I think that, well, my top, I know for a fact, but I think that, okay, now you guys are probably wondering what is going on in his head right now. My top 2 receivers on the board are my wide receivers, 12 and 13. That is CeeDee Lamb and Robert Woods. So immediately, if I was going to go receiver, that would be the strategy I'd approach with here. I just want to make sure we cover our bases here. The 3 tight ends that I love at this spot. Well, obviously, Kelsey has no chance of ever being around here, but if Kittle or Waller were to have been available, I would have had that to consider. That's not the case here. We already addressed that running back position. I think it's just important we go out there and capitalize on the receivers that we prefer. CeeDee Lamb, I think, will have the most targets in that Dallas offense this year. Amari Cooper's a stud. I trust him. I think he has a lot of value, but at this point, I am Amari Cooper below CeeDee Lamb in my rankings list. I've got them pretty close. Their ADP isn't separated by much, but I just like CeeDee Lamb's skill set and what I've seen from him in not only last year, but this offseason. Take what you will from Hard Knocks. It's not the end-all be-all, but I've been very encouraged by that as well. And then we'll take Robert Woods here. So I've got a ceiling play in CeeDee Lamb. Pair that with Robert Woods. Gives me a really, really strong floor foundation for this team. It should be pretty good. Mike Evans is the only other player I'm really considering here. But the fact that we're going out on, I don't want to say out on a limb because I don't think it's too much of a reach at all to take a CeeDee Lamb here. But I would say that it isn't necessarily a consensus or a given that you would pick CD over Mike. Mike is just a little bit more touchdown dependent. Only had just barely over 1,000 yards receiving last year. Is more of a, like I said, a touchdown play. If he doesn't score you that touchdown, the volume isn't as good as it once was because this offense has so much opportunity to spread the football around to very talented players and get Gronk, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. All those guys have to get their targets and get involved. And when Evans only has an 18% target share in his offense, I just can't like that situation quite as much. Robert Woods, though, I feel very comfortable with. You know, he could very well have 150 targets in this offense with increased quarterback upside. That is huge. Having Matthew Stafford to potentially push the ball downfield, make less turnovers, keep the offense on the field for longer. Even if Robert Woods' overall targets don't increase by a significant amount, I think that the passing tendency for the Rams offense will this year, which I think in turn will help Robert see potentially more targets than he has in the past. Because when you lose your lead running back, it's natural that, you know, Darrell Henderson has some injury issues. If he goes down too, you know, they've got Sony Michel now, but he's still not a proven workhorse. He has a proven track record of being a situational player and being a nice piece on an NFL team. But there comes a point when the passing attack just might be a stronger asset to your football team than it is to run the ball 25 times a game. So Sean McVay might find himself in a situation where he just feels better throwing the ball, putting it in the air, throwing short passing routes, and letting Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp get the job done after the catch. So something to at least entertain and consider there. Now, so this is why I feel so good about having went with the 2 running backs early. Is now I feel like I'm in a very great situation. And I'm surprised James Robinson's ADP hasn't risen any higher than this as of late, to be honest. So I can't pass on that pick here, having a running back with that much work carved out for him in his own offense. Now that Travis Etienne's out of there, it's almost no question that Robinson will see very similar and comparable numbers to what he saw his final year or his first year, excuse me, in Jacksonville. I don't know. The upside isn't amazing with James Robinson, but the floor is very, very good. And so then this makes this pick easier for me to turn around and take the receiver I liked most at this next spot here. But nonetheless, I feel very comfortable now riding with those 3 running backs the majority of the rest of this draft, because although I'm going to build a very wide receiver heavy team the rest of the way, I don't have to have the running back position looming over my shoulder and being too concerned about missing out on key players, key value spots on the board. And I can just focus on solely attacking upside at my wide receiver group, which is clearly what needs the most help right now. The only other thing I'd really consider is investing into a TJ Hawkinson or a Mark Andrews and squaring away that tight end spot. But with Brandon Ayuk on the board, I don't want to pass on that just because of how I've constructed the team to this point. So I think that's the route I'm going to go here. I'm going to probably fade quarterback and tight end quite a significant amount in today's video and just build a really strong team centered around those receivers the rest of the way here. There are plenty of tight end prospects and targets I can go out and get later on the board here. And then the quarterback position in a 1-quarterback league is as deep as any other in fantasy football. So that's the route we're going to take today. We're going to take the pick of Brandon Ayuk here a little bit higher than what his ADP has him rated as. But Adam Thielen is too much of a risky play for me. Jamar Chase has been trending down as of late with his preseason struggles, his drops, all that stuff. I talked about Mike Evans and my reasoning for not wanting to take him. Adam Thielen's the same situation, very touchdown dependent last year, not something you love to see. Might be time for another rookie receiver here. Devontae Smith very well might be the next best name on the board. Oh man, Noah Fant is always questionable, but that's nothing new or nothing significant. The poor guy is so talented. He just seems to always have something going on. You see, a full PPR, Chase Edmonds would be a fantastic pick here, but given that I've already got 3 players I feel very comfortable with as lower-end RB1s or fringe RB1s in the case of a James Robinson, I don't see why I would need to invest back into that group. Again, we'll fade tight end and quarterback for a while here. There's still plenty of names that I can attack later on. Plenty of quarterbacks. I can play that position pretty safe as well. I think we're going to go Devontae Smith here as one of my must-own players, one of my breakout candidates for this year, and we've got back-to-back picks. So, of course, there's the opportunity to go out and attack another player on the board here. Let's see. I'm not overly higher on Tom Brady than I am on the rest of these players. There's value to be had. There's avenues for production for about 5 or 6 guys on the board that are all very similar there. I think I might come out here and get my 5th wide receiver squared away here and just really strengthen the upside in the middle rounds of this draft here. I'm going to take Chase Claypool for the Pittsburgh Steelers over Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, Juju might actually out-target and have more passes caught, but Chase Claypool is the guy who I think has the best touchdown upside in this team, and that's ultimately why I went with that decision there. Devontae Smith is going to be a volume pick. See a lot of passes thrown his way in that Eagles offense. But Chase Claypool, while he should see an improvement in that category from his rookie season, the touchdowns is something I expect to be there year over year because of his frame, his athletic ability, his potential to win contested catches and what he's shown from us in his rookie season. There's a lot I like in that situation. So now, whereas we started very light at the wide receiver position, I've got 5 names I feel very, very comfortable and confident with here moving into this next stage on the board. So Zach Moss would be an interesting running back target. Maybe not quite this round, but next round, that's definitely a possibility. Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, all those quarterbacks I still liked last round are available. I could go for Ryan Tannehill would be my highest ranked quarterback based off of my draft guide rankings at this moment in time. However, he does have COVID right now, as does his head coach, Mike Vrabel, so there is some relative risk there. Maybe that gives a guy who's also closely rated to him and on my board, Matt Stafford, and there's another stack opportunity for me, Matthew Stafford and Robert Woods. that chance. Literally another stacks left and right here. I could stack Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith as well. So just peek at tight ends quickly before I make a final decision here. But I think I like the opportunity to, let's see, we've got back-to-back picks. Decisions. I'm not going to worry about tight end this round. I've made that up for myself. We'll take the quarterback here since I do know I want to walk away with Matthew Stafford. I'll pair him and Robert Woods together. It's not exactly an elite wide receiver quarterback stack, but it's something I feel really solid about on a week-to-week basis. There's really great floor value there. Stafford can still push the ball downfield to not only Woods, but I think the Kupp is probably the better field-stretching asset of the two out of the slot. I love how that play-action game should be set up if they can find and establish a quality run game even without Cam Akers. Maybe they have to do it without Darrell Henderson sometimes if he continues to struggle with injuries. But there is the potential for production and success there. Now, tight end would be my next most pressing matter here, but I'm not overly committed to drafting Rob Gronkowski, who would be my top tight end on the board. Logan Thomas would be a nice pick as well, but ADP tells me I can wait a little bit longer on him. Another name I'm not so sure I want to let slip by is Zach Moss, who is a very underrated pass catcher and could be a quality number 4 running back for this team. Remember, we went very heavy at the running back position early on and then faded off that group closer towards, obviously now we're getting past the halfway marker of today's episode. 40 seconds. So just trying to assess this from an overall roster building standpoint, thinking a couple rounds down the road here, which decision would fare the best for me. What my gut is telling me is that if I wait much longer, the running backs will all be dried up. There is some decent situational plays, and although it is a little bit early, I'm still going to take Zach Moss. In a full PPR league, I'm not a Damian Harris guy. He does not catch passes. His ceiling is very, very low in the scoring format. James Conner is a standard scoring player again. He's going to be the touchdown guy in that Cardinals offense. Chase Edmonds is the guy you want in PPR for that Cardinals team. He'll be the first, second, and third and long back. The only real usage I see an unexplosive rusher like James Conner having is to come in on short yardage downs and punch the ball in the end zone. So not a pick I liked there. And then Nyheim Hines would be a nice PPR flex option that I could draft later on here. But the overall upside and potential for Zach Moss to just be a legitimate starting running back in the league was too good for me to pass on there. I would love to take advantage of Irv Smith, but he's going to be out at least a few games to start the season with a meniscus tear, which just unfortunately happened very recently. So that'd be something, I don't want to draft a second tight end to have to fill that void in the meantime. And again, in a full PPR league where I like having Gronk on my team as either, he scores the touchdown or he doesn't type of a guy for my lineup. In this situation, I think we might just fade tight end till maybe even the last round of the draft and just take one of my high upside flyers that is basically the describing information for all tight ends at this point after those first top guys go off the board. But, Gronk's not going to be a volume play and really contribute too much extra in that full PPR format that we don't currently have on this team. So another interesting situation I don't typically play out on the channel too much is drafting a second quarterback, but with Jalen Hurts still there, that's something I am entertaining at this spot. We've loaded up big time at wide receiver. We've got plenty to fill the starting lineup and flex positions if need be, and there's more guys down the board farther and farther that I like. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts here and just give this team the chance to take 2 shots at the quarterback position. Both of those I have a wide receiver tied to as well. So if, Robert Woods or Devontae Smith turn into an even higher upside pick than expected, I then also will be gaining points at a rapid rate when that quarterback is in my lineup and I have the chance to start them as well. And obviously what we love about Hurts so much is his legs and his rushing value he adds. So still back-to-back picks. I don't hate Tyler Higbee. I think he could be a nice pick this year. I'm not going to not draft him because he's a Ram, and that would put 3 Rams in my starting lineup. But that's not also something I'm targeting or attempting to do purposefully, so I will keep my eye on that. But he does seem like the clear top option for, I just said I was going to fade tight end to the last round of the draft, but with these other tight ends banged up and whatnot, and me not wanting to waste a second draft pick for this particular team to just have a starter in the meantime while I wait for a guy to recover for a few weeks, I think I'm going to pull the trigger here and take Tyler Higbee because, again, I don't love having Matt Stafford, Robert Woods, and Tyler Higbee all in that starting lineup. That's not exactly a target offense to invest 3 starting level picks into, but I get availability with Tyler Higbee. I get flexibility for the rest of my roster to not have to worry about drafting that position again the rest of the way. And I also just get a player who, Matt Stafford's had some success with tight ends. TJ Hawkinson and him were pretty good last season together. And it's not something it's not a must draft player whatsoever, but, no more Gerald Everett. That's less competition for targets for him. Could be a nice situation. The ultimate pass-catching running back right here, Nyheim Hines, who had a bunch of targets last year, could be a nice pick for me. I do like the four running backs I do have, but adding a 5th player who is one of those niche assets that is particularly good in the PPR scoring format might be nice for me. Let's see here. So we do have back-to-back picks. So I can get both of my guys here. I'll go Nyheim Hines with the first pick and then Elijah Moore, who is the wide receiver I wanted. Hines isn't a pick I've actually made all too much this offseason. He is that guy for the Colts offense who just comes in there and gets the third down passing work. But not a super high upside touchdown play if something happens to JT, though. Obviously, he becomes more valuable. And he was throwing the ball a lot out of the backfield last season. So I like that for the scoring format. And then Elijah Moore simply is just a high upside player that can give us the production with minimal risk here late in the draft at that wide receiver spot. I go back and forth. Him and Corey Davis are both players I'm making a very honest effort to draft in leagues because I think that their price, the reward and return on investment far outweighs the draft price that you have to pay up for them. And there's minimal, if not any risk at all involved when taking any of those players. So running backs pretty much squared away. We've got our 2 quarterbacks. Not something I do all the time. Every once in a while, in most oftentimes, I just draft 1 quarterback. But today we went with 2 guys who I think are in pretty much the same tier as one another. But if one doesn't work out, we've got the other to lean back on. This is an interesting pick. I think I'll go with Amon-Ra St. Brown here over Nelson Agholor. My reasoning for doing so, and then we have to pick a defense before we end off today's video, and I'll go with my Dolphins, who I pick basically every time here. Again, only those of you who stick through to the end of the video know how much I rave about the Miami Dolphins defense, and the chances that you even saw Amon-Ra St. Brown picked are probably a lot less likely, obviously, that you even saw Chase Claypool go off the board in the 8th round or so, but basically, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has a pretty easy cut path to getting into that starting lineup and having potentially the top share of targets in that offense. I like him and Quintez Cephas. Tyrell Williams is a nice vet, but they cut Rashad Perryman. He did not make the active roster, so just removing one of the barriers to entry for St. Brown to be a starter in this offense means less potential roadblocks to him being a nice fantasy piece. So you've got yourself a nice young rookie player. He's got a nice skill set, not too elite at any one particular skill or another, but he's also a very complete player. So I like what I see from him. That Lions offense has to throw the ball to somebody outside of TJ Hawkinson. And as much as I could sit back here and tell you that I would want DeAndre Swift to be the next guy in line there, he does not have the ability to stay healthy for that level of a touch load. That's not going to happen. One of those receivers is going to have to emerge. I like Cephas. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those obviously being the younger 2 names. It could still be Tyrell Williams. It's much similar to that Jet situation where there's a lot of names who could do it, and we have to wait and see who ultimately steps up to the plate and grasps a hold of that workload. But I like how this team turned out today. Matt Stafford and Jalen Hurts are those two quarterbacks. Just recapping the team here. Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, and James Robinson were 3 of our first 4-round picks, I believe. Actually, James Robinson fell to us in the 5th round. A bit unusual. I'm surprised his ADP hasn't surged higher following that injury to Travis Etienne, but something to keep note of here. Ayuk, Robert Woods, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, and Chase Claypool. I feel dang good about those top 5 wideouts. And then Elijah Moore and Amon-Ra St. Brown with some high upside on the back end. Don't love the tight end today. Tyler Higbee, obviously investing a 3rd time into that Rams offense. It's dicey. It's not like the end of the world if that happens in your drafts, but it's not something I'm targeting or trying to do. You don't want to become too Rams dependent. The good news is I do have other options for my lineup at each of those positions, and those guys don't have to be must-start players each week. Chances are, if, Irv Smith got drafted in this league, I imagine I ended up passing on him. But, like, for example, if one of those other tight ends I was more interested in had not been injured or were not expected to miss time, I would have went that direction. But since I come into most drafts only expecting to take one tight end, I don't want to sit and have to wait on a guy or roster 2 of them for the time being. So, and then that Dolphins defense, great coach, great scheme. Disguise zone defense gets a lot of turnovers, makes things really nasty for young quarterbacks. And Xavier Howard, the ball hawking secondary, they dial up blitz schemes, confuse quarterbacks. I really like that team for fantasy. And then if you're looking for a return game as well, it's something valuable to look at. Jakeem Grant is among the best in the business. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Drop down, give today's episode a like if you enjoyed. Leave any comments, questions, concerns in the comment section below. Subscribe if you're new around here. Check out the draft guide if you haven't done so and you're still looking for some last-minute help in your leagues this season. We're here for you all year long, though. Anything you need, the SFS channel's got you covered. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.